Hey everyone, welcome back to our exciting episode of Tech Productions. Today I'm back up once again by Nick.
It's just me this time.
And today it's Nick taking on Nick, another guy at our local shop. And Nick, who is speaking, is playing Broly Paragus, the new Broly deck, which is actually pretty fun. Who we're calling Nick 2 is just playing good blue Soul Striker. Like always, just buttons. Click them. They're there for a reason. Let's get into it.
This was a classic mirror.
Yeah, when it comes to name to name. So we've had your profile on the channel, so we kind of have an understanding how this deck runs, but, you know, let's talk about it a little bit more now in the instance of it being in a match.
Yeah, so in the profile, I explained lines of play and what you wanted to do. It's pretty straightforward the first couple of turns. Until like turn 3, essentially, you want to cycle your field cards and then try to Z-Awaken as early as possible. The front side of the leader doesn't do much. It just honestly, it has probably one of the best search pieces in the game, where it just grabs a 1-drop Broly or Paragus. So you're guaranteed to see a piece you need in order to get going. And then it has effects from the Z deck and from the leader itself, where it pops its own battle cards to get effects. And it also swings. It also has effects kind of like Green Champa and Beerus, where you swing into your opponent's battle cards to get additional effects or make your opponent pitch cards and whatnot. Again, this is just the first turn that every Broly player will do with this deck. You'll grab Broly Paragus, which fishes the field card from the deck, or the drop if you do it later in the game, but you fish it from the deck and play it, and then that Broly will stay on the field to your turn 2, so you can negate its skills with the field card and awaken.
And the one of the great things about this deck is that your Broly, I think it's when you're awakened though, but your Broly cards, they can't be negated if you are attacking into a battle card, right?
Yes, and it specifies Broly cards, so that also counts for the leader as well. With the Z extra card, Demonic Meteor of Destruction, I think is what it's called, it will boost your Broly card's battle power, so when you're swinging at battle cards, you'll get really big. Your opponent can't negate, so they have to defend if they want. Otherwise, they will lose cards from hand, essentially.
Now, I don't know if Nick knew what to kind of expect, but depending on what his hand was, he obviously swung the leader first to get a draw card. I don't know if it was Pickle Heater or not, but I feel like in a situation like this, you want to do this the other way. You play the Piccolo, then you just reset energy. That way you have things to do, but it doesn't look like he has a lot of or anything he could really do to your turn, so maybe it was the best call.
Yeah, well, funny enough, we did play this match a couple weeks prior to this. He was playing Soul Striker, and I was playing the same deck. He won that game from Baby Hatch. that card too damn good. But essentially, this deck likes to spam battle cards and then just keep swinging for the fences. It's more of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you defend your battle cards, you're losing cards from your hand. If you let battle cards get attacked, you lose cards from your hand. This deck has a pretty good ways of doing stuff. I actually really like it. It's pretty interactive. I've had a good time playing it.
This is one of those puzzle pieces where, like, you pop the field, which then plays the 6-drop, right?
Yeah, it'll play a 6-drop red-green multicolor Broly from your hand. It could potentially play Tragedy Foretold, but that card does say you have to have Dormant Legend in the drop area, so you could play it later in the game, but this is the 6-drop Broly that you'll play. But for 1 energy, you get a 30k crit body. That's pretty damn good. And then it can later in the game, if you're turn three onwards, if it comes out, you can pop a Paragus on board to let it attack cards in active mode. That so far in my games, that hasn't come up that often, but it can, especially in the later turns when your opponent's like playing battle cards or they're playing blockers or something, and they don't want to tap their battle cards, or in the case of like barrier cards, like that pan you saw earlier, like if he didn't combo it, he just stuck on the board, I can swing at it later in the game if I wanted to.
So here he's looking at Z deck to play a card, and he's going to be playing a Beerus card.
Yes.
Which is very interesting line of play, especially if he chooses to swing the leader and restands the energy, because then he can tap 2 to get Beerus to swing multiple times.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was worried about. I didn't know if he was going to go that route just to get multiple swings. Um, Honestly, I want to get low life totals in this game in this list. You want to get to 3 just so you can Z Awaken. But another good thing about that 6-drop Broly is if the opponent deals with it, you still get the field card, the second field card from anywhere. So again, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. They can either let it sit on the board and not deal with it, then I can do it myself on my turn, or they can pop it and then I can get ready to set up for my next turn.
And he does, I think, does he go for the draw? Waiting for the auto? Yeah, he goes for the draw instead.
Yeah, so at this point in the game, when I'm sitting at 5 life, especially with the deck like this, I don't mind taking hits, especially if it's just single strikes. Doesn't mean much to me. I want to take that life down again because I want to awaken or Z awaken as soon as possible. Just because the Z awaken side is just a 20k base. Why not? And then you also lose the restriction from this awaken side of the leader where your Broly cards are -1 combo power and -5k. So you'll have free 10k combos when you're Z awaken. So you can defend yourself super easily with the deck like this.
Now, this may kind of be going into your thought process for this turn, but I do know he's sitting at 6 life, and for this turn, you kind of just focus more on clearing the board and nothing else. Was that kind of like stalling him out until you were ready to do something, or did you just feel like that was the best play?
Well, that's the way I've been playing this deck. That's what I want to do, especially if he's got a relatively small guy sitting in rest mode, because I can pop my gigantic meteor destruction and make him pitch cards from hand. So either he defends that card and combos the 2 or 3 cards from hand, or he pitches a card from hand regardless. And this deck doesn't have too much removal. It has a couple things, but the biggest tangent of this deck is to swing at your opponent's battle cards. So, and especially with Soul Striker, him only awakening at 4 life, I wanted to delay that as much as possible where I can just burst down as much damage as possible.
Yeah, I feel like it might be just me because I used to play Soul Striker a lot, but I feel like you could bring back the bottom part of its auto now, just because there's so many ways of dealing with unisons.
Yeah, unisons are pretty much. I mean, there are some fringe decks that play them or need to, but they're not as relevant as they used to be. And especially if a 3-cost unison like that, I don't see a reason to not have it.
I mean, you can also play the promo Z battle card Vegeta to help kind of remove a line, or even if he has enough cards in his drop, he can start activating Dimension Magics, which I know he doesn't have any in his hand from what we can see.
Yeah, and here I'm explaining the 8-cross Broly, which is another. Essentially, the whole theme of this deck is damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's evolve for 1. You draw a card on the evolve, so you're replacing itself, and then on play, it'll make your opponent pitch a card. So just from me swinging with my leader and playing this guy, I've made him pitch 2 cards from hand, and then he also has additional effects when he attacks and KOs battle cards, where your opponent will take a life if they're at certain energy costs, and then you actually draw from it too. So, and he restands as a 35k double striker. So he's like, it's really, really good of a card. And especially in a deck like this, where the leader says your opponent can't activate counters when a Broly attacks a battle card, you're you're forcing your opponent into awkward situations where they would say, "Oh, I'll just negate and be done with it." But now you have to, or essentially respect battles, or you're going to either lose from your hand or lose from your life.
And speaking of unisons from earlier, he does have the Boo unison. He goes ahead and establishes that, which isn't a bad. It just helps him get some more draws, but now it gives you, like, if you want to keep him at 6 life next turn, it just gives you a target to kind of just machine gun into instead.
Right. And I have a vendetta with this card. I absolutely hate that unison so much. I've had so many games where it's cost me everything, and usually when I see that on the board, I do what I can to remove it as soon as possible. And in a deck like this, it's pretty easy to do, especially when all my battle cards are wanting to swing at his cards. it puts him in an awkward position where he pretty much has to use that effect. And like you said, it gives me another target to swing at where I whittle the hand down a little bit more and still put him in a position where he can't do anything when I go for my kill turn.
The green, because you're playing green Broly. I can't remember off the top of my head. Like I know Go Bros has ways of doing views. It's just naturally with the archetype. Did Broly have any things?
Not inherently. The only thing that I could think of would be the Gohan rare, the green one. I mean, it's sideboard worthy. You could do that, but I don't run it as a main board just because I don't see unisons that often. I mean, if I'm running a sideboard, I'd put it in.
No, yeah, unisons have unfortunately been being crept out, but we're still getting more, which is, I guess, a good thing. We're getting Z unisons soon, so
yeah, guaranteed unisons are pretty damn good. So here, I'm pretty sure I'm swinging at the unison on this one. There's not really much for me to do, and again, I'm in the mindset of where I want to whittle his hand down just because he hasn't really played anything, and I just lied to you guys. I was actually swinging at the leader, and he blocked it. so here I'm just trying to establish my Z energy again, just so I can go into the Broly Z battle card.
This is one of the situations where I wish he was here with us because I'm curious because your leader's not crit, so I'm really curious why go for the block then when he could have gone down to 5 and possibly if he played like Dimension Magic or Child's Reinforcement Army, he could have gone on 4 and awaken right away on his call instead of like wait for you to do stuff. Because now you've established 2, you're at 4 energy, 2 double strikes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean like you got plenty of pressure here.
Yeah, and here I play the cooler. This card is so damn good. It's criminal how good this cooler is, especially with that Broly Z battle card being only a 1 cost inherent, essentially. It's crazy how much value you get off this card, especially in a deck like this where you do hit the hand. Just being able to activate its main to swing twice and do the effect to make him pitch cards from hand. And then also if the board gets crazy, if I can't deal with the board, I can use it to also pop battle cards too. So just being able to just say I'm going to swing a double strike at your unison and make you pitch cards from hand, no brainer.
And that was definitely smart of him to take the -1 then because if he didn't do it then, I guess he could have still popped your next attack card because it would have been a 1 of instead.
Yeah, the only thing that would have been more optimal is if you would have hit the Z battle card, because then that would have prevented my cooler from restanding. But again, it's one of those things where it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do you want another double strike hitting at you for for making you pitch a card, or do you want a 35k double strike swinging at you? So I mean, you want to stop the hand control, but again, it's the worst decision of both worlds.
So now he's sitting at 2 life. A decent hand now, but I think you talked about before when like we've already seen parts of it now, but I've seen you like with this Broly deck like in 1 turn just say 6 or 7 cards, go bye.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'll see it here because I will do it on my final turn. But if your opponent's not going to play any battle cards for you to swing into or deal with, you'll get even more value where you'll force your opponent even more awkward situations. And the way it's built right now is essentially it'll hit the board, it'll swing at battle cards, it'll make them pitch cards from hand. If they don't want to play battle cards, you're going to get more effects off because they can't do anything about it. So there's just tons of way to just interrupt your opponent from their plays. And I've had a really good time playing this deck. And here we drop the infamous Dormant. A lot of people have been playing the Unease and Awaken Rage. I don't play it. I don't think it's good outside of Gohan, honestly. Granted, you do get it for free, but you're wasting so many cards from your hand to get the effect. Why not just tap 1 and say your opponent only gets 1 more swing for the turn? I'd rather tell my opponent no than take a challenge, especially if they do have a healthy hand where it's not going to matter versus you only get 1 more swing. So make it count. It's just kind of a no-brainer on my part.
Yeah. He has options here. Like, he only get one more attack in, so if he wanted to continue, okay, he just passed. I saw a Piccolo in his hand. It depends how many pans. Like, we've seen 2 pans. If he doesn't have any more than 2 in his deck, it's kind of wasteful to play the Piccolo. I guess give it barrier for a turn. But just one attack out of it, I don't think it's worth it. I think hanging on to energy for a defensive play would be best.
Right. And here, now my cooler is lethal. Granted, he can negate since it's a cooler attacking the leader, but it's going to make him pitch a card from hand regardless because there's nothing on the board. So essentially whatever this interaction is going to be for him, it's going to be a -2 at the least.
So there goes the Piccolo.
Yeah, and then here at super combo, I want to try to poke the hand a little bit just to see if he this is lethal, so he has to defend himself if he wants to keep going. And there, I flashed the card on field. You don't see it, but my warp is off camera, so that I was flashing that card just to show that it was going to warp.
Okay, getting some draws isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, and here. Here's the start of my plays that I was talking about. Damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing. That the Broly, the way that second auto reads is if the Broly is removed by a skill or KO'd, you can pay a green energy to play a 4-cost from your hand. And here we're playing Deathless Warrior Broly. So as it stands right now, I've made him pitch from the cooler, and now with the Deathless Warrior Broly on the field, he can either KO a battle card, and if he can't, he has to pitch 2. So that's what I was talking about, where if he doesn't want to play anything, I'll just hit his hand even more. And it also has a second effect, permanent, where if you're evolving on top of it, you're reducing the evolve cost by 2 green. So Broly only costs, the 8-drop Broly only costs 1, so free evolve, make him pitch another one. So as right now, we're sitting at 4 cards that has been forced to pitch.
Yeah.
And now cooler will make him pitch another one, so we're at 5.
And you're still at 3 open energies. Like, you have more plays you could go into from here as well.
Exactly. I have so many, and right now I still have 2 double strikes with the Broly Z battle card and the 8-drop Broly, so I have tons of lethal potential right now.
And I know when we did your profile, you were playing Wicked Saiyans, which means like if you had that in your hand, for 2 energy, I think it is, he could choose to, at this point, he's just now out of energy. So he wouldn't have 4 cards to tap now, or put in rest mode, so he'll have to discard, 2 more cards?
Right. And the Wicked Saiyans, I love it in this deck. It's so phenomenal, but the problem with against a deck like Soul Striker, it's going to untap so much, whereas you saw at the beginning of his turn, he had all its energy untapped, so it didn't matter. And then here, just the other good green stuff, we go the Goku from the Gohan deck. Just play it for 2 and make your opponent pitch another card and pop a battle card on board. You don't get the burn damage, but who cares?
No, I mean, he's 35k right now, if I recall correctly, or 30, one or the other.
Yeah, a 35k double strike, and now again for 4 energy, I've made him pitch 6 cards. Why not, right? And now I have a big guy for lethal. He either has to get rid of his entire hand, and I still have another double strike on board, or it's game.
I mean, he's at 1 life now. I mean, like, regardless, you have the big 8-drop still.
Yeah, and the leader.
Yeah.
And the leader could potentially become a 30k if I pop one of my own cards. So, yeah, I have ton of pressure now to where I can just comfortably say either you stop this or it's a game.
Get some setup. Yeah, I think he has another one in his hand. Yeah.
Yeah, double bean all the way, baby.
Wait, is that enough? Okay.
Triple bean. Yeah, he went for the bean burrito.
I mean, that's good. I mean, like, if he had the strong enough hand, he may survive this turn, depending on what your hand size is. Oh, no, that's a skip. All right, cool. And that's today's match. Thanks for tuning in. Keep in mind, there's buttons, links, check them out, and bye.